The shocking truth, a simple woman's mistake at midnight unleashes an epic twist. A soft breeze whispered through the trees as Martha Johnson stood at her window, heart racing, staring into the darkened streets of Maplewood. Midnight had always seemed so ordinary, yet tonight, everything felt off. It was that sticky feeling in the air, like something important was about to change. As she glanced down, her breath hitched. Was that a shadow moving beneath the street lamp? Her mind raced. Shadows don't just move on their own. They slither, they creep, they scare the daylights out of you as the night grew thicker, clinging to the town like a guilty secret. The crickets chirped their usual serenade, but in the pit of her stomach, an uneasy knot twisted tight. Something wasn't right. It was like the world had paused, waiting for her to unravel the mystery unfurling right before her eyes. Just then, she saw it again, a figure, cloaked in darkness, darting between cars. Her pulse quickened as she pressed her forehead against the cool glass, trying to see better, to rationalize what she was witnessing. Honest to God, was that a flash of red? It must be the neighbor's cat, she thought desperately, but a deeper part of her knew it couldn't be. Could this really be happening? Was her simple life about to take a plunge into chaos? Just as her mind spun in circles of terror, her phone buzzed on the kitchen table, breaking the thick silence. It was a message from Jen, her best friend. You won't believe what I just discovered about the old mill house. Meet me at the diner. Martha felt a jolt of confusion tinged with excitement. The mill house? Everyone in Maplewood knew it was abandoned, haunted even, but why would Jen want to talk about it now? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a mix of dread and curiosity, Martha grabbed her jacket and headed out into the night. Each step felt heavy, as if the air had thickened around her, wrapping her in uncertainty. The streetlights flickered ominously overhead as if they were warning her to turn back. Yet, every instinct urged her forward. What did Jen know that she didn't? Martha quickened her pace, the diner's neon sign flickering like a heartbeat in the distance. But in that moment, another shadow skittered across her peripheral vision, a flash of red again, darting behind the bushes. Her breath caught in her throat. What the hell was going on? Her mind raced. She thought about turning back, running home to safety, but risk and curiosity pulled her onward. What would she find when she met Jen? And more importantly, what other secrets lurked in the darkness of Maplewood that she wasn't prepared to uncover? Was she stepping into a trap or catching a glimpse of something far more sinister? Only time would tell. As Martha approached the diner, the flickering neon light cast eerie shadows that danced across the pavement, as if echoing her inner turmoil. She pushed open the door, the familiar jingle of the bell ringing hollowly in the tense atmosphere. The smell of greasy fries and burnt coffee filled the air, but tonight, it didn't bring her comfort. Her eyes darted around the empty booths. Where was Jen? Geez, Martha, you look like you've seen a ghost. Jen's voice cut through the stillness, and relief washed over her. Jen slid into the seat across from Martha, her brow furrowed with concern. You okay? Not really, I just saw something strange outside my house, Martha started, her voice trembling slightly. But you said you had news? Right. Jen leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I found something at the old mill house. You've got to hear this. Martha couldn't help but lean in. This was the old abandoned place at the edge of town, filled with stories and urban legends. What did you discover? Jen pulled out her phone, her hand shaking slightly as she brought up a photo. I found this hidden door in the basement. It was locked, but I got it open. Inside, there were some old boxes filled with newspaper clippings and something else. Martha's heart thundered. What do you mean something else? Jen hesitated, her eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and fear. A diary. It belonged to the last owner of the mill house, a woman named Evelyn Hart. She wrote about strange noises and sightings, things that could explain the haunting stories. But there's more. Her last entry is dated the night she disappeared. Martha's breath hitched. That's when she remembered the stories of Evelyn Hart, the woman said to have vanished without a trace, the subject of hushed conversations in Maplewood. What did she write? Jen was tapping furiously on her phone, searching through her photos. Here it is. She talks about feeling watched and mentions a red figure lurking near the house. That's where things get weird. She says she was drawn to it. A chill washed over Martha. The red figure. It couldn't be a coincidence. Was that the shadow I saw? She wondered aloud, twisting her hands nervously under the table. Wait, there's more, Jen continued, her voice dropping to a near whisper. She wrote about a secret something dark hidden in the mill house. But then the entry cuts off like she was interrupted. Martha's heart raced with a mix of fear and determination. We have to go back there. We have to see what she meant. Now? At this hour? Jen's eyes widened. What if the rumors are true? What if it's dangerous? I don't care. Martha shot back, her voice sharper than she intended. I need to know what happened to her. We can't let fear control us. What if there's more to discover? Jen bit her lip, weighing her options. The diner felt oppressive now, the shadows creeping closer. Martha could sense Jen's hesitation. Okay, Jen relented at last. But we should take a flashlight and maybe get some pepper spray just in case. This is Maplewood. Nothing bad ever happens here, or does it? As they agreed and made plans, something tugged at the back of Martha's mind. The flash of red she'd seen earlier, was it the same that Evelyn had noted? They left the diner in a rush, leaving behind the smell of coffee and uncertainty. Outside, the night felt alive, humming with an energy they couldn't yet understand. Shadows flitted like creatures in the corners of their eyes, and as the two women moved back toward the mill house, they steeled themselves for whatever truth awaited them. Just as they reached the edge of the property, a sudden rustle interrupted the stillness, sending both women spinning around. A figure stood just outside the periphery of the shadows. Who's there? Martha shouted, her voice breaking the tense silence. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a low, raspy laugh echoed through the darkness, chilling them to the core. Come find me, it whispered, before slipping back into the darkness. Martha's heart pounded. What had they just walked into, and would they uncover? What was truly hidden in the mill house? The night ahead promised revelations, and yet, danger lurked too. As they stood frozen in fear, the pressing question lingered, were they ready to uncover the secrets that would forever alter their lives? Martha felt a tremor race through her body as she strained to see through the darkness where the voice had come from. The chill of the night air wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket, and Jen's grip on her arm was almost painful. Did you hear that? Jen whispered, her voice quivering. I don't know what to believe anymore, Martha replied, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. The memories of what they'd uncovered in the diner surged back. Evelyn's diary, the warnings, the red figure, it all felt like a weight pressing down on her instincts. They stood there for what felt like an eternity, holding their breaths, their eyes scanning the tree line for any sign of movement. Maybe it was just an animal? Jen suggested, though the thinness of her voice betrayed her own fear. But deep down, Martha knew it was something more. The voice, it was human, she murmured, her resolve hardening. We need to investigate. Are you insane? Jen jolted back, her voice rising. That could have been dangerous. What if there is someone out here? We won't know unless we find out, Martha insisted, pushing down her fear. We came here for Evelyn, and we can't turn back now. With a reluctant nod, Jen exhaled and reached for the flashlight in her bag. The beam of light sliced through the night, illuminating patches of grass and the outline of the looming mill house, its dark silhouette more ominous than ever. Stay close, Jen murmured, her voice barely steady as they took their first cautious steps toward the house. As they moved toward the entrance, a sharp wind howled, rustling the leaves overhead. The old front door of the mill house creaked open, as if inviting them in. Martha's skin prickled. "Did you see that? It's like it wants us here." Jen hesitated, but Martha pushed ahead, drawn by an unseen force. The air inside was stale, thick with a suffocating silence that wrapped around them as they stepped into the hallway. Dust motes danced in the flashlight's beam, and the floorboards groaned under their weight. "Okay, let us find that basement," Jen said, her voice a whisper, eyes wide as she scanned the dimly lit walls. In the flickering light, Martha caught a glimpse of the remnants of a life once lived here, tattered wallpapers, remnants of furniture covered in sheets. It felt as if the house had held its breath, waiting for something or someone. "Wait," Jen said sharply, halting in her tracks. "What if that red figure is still here?" Martha rolled her shoulders back, trying to shake off the dread creeping up her spine. "We didn't come this far to back down now." They pressed on, finding the door to the basement. It was slightly ajar, as though it had been recently disturbed. Jen stared at Martha, fear and determination battling in her eyes. "Are you ready for this?" Martha's pounding heart echoed in her ears. "We have to open it." With shaky hands, she pushed the door fully open. As they descended the creaky stairs, the air grew colder, and an uneasy feeling of being watched settled in. Each step reverberated in her mind, the darkness closing in around them. Just as they stepped onto the basement floor, the flashlight flickered, sputtering before plunging them into darkness. Panic surged through Martha. "Jen, turn it back on!" But before Jen could react, a low growl echoed from the far corner of the basement. The sound sent a jolt of terror through both women. "Did you hear that?" Jen breathed, her eyes wide with fear. Martha didn't answer. Her mind raced. Something was down here with them. The sensation of being watched intensified, heavier than before. Her instinct screamed to flee, but she couldn't. Something powerful held her in place, as if the house itself had come alive. "Let us go back," Jen suggested, her voice trembling. But as they turned, the door slammed shut above them with a resounding thud. The echo reverberated like a war drum, and the growl grew louder, closer. "Now we're trapped," Jen gasped in horror. The flashlight flickered back to life, revealing an expansive corner shrouded in shadows. Martha's breath hitched as she caught the unmistakable glint of red eyes watching them from the darkness. "Get back!" Jen shouted, pushing against Martha as they staggered away, fear sweeping over them in waves. The growl morphed into a voice, low and steady. "You found me." What awaited them in this forsaken mill house was still cloaked in mystery, but as they grasped back the thread of light, the growing realization dawned. They weren't just here for Evelyn, they stumbled upon something far more sinister. Martha's heart thundered as she took a step back, but it was too late. "What do we do now?" The air grew thick with a menacing electricity, and a chilling truth began to weave into their reality. Sometimes, the past does stay buried, and the chase had only just begun. "Find me," the voice echoed again, sharper this time. Martha's mind reeled, and as they stood at the precipice of terror, it was clear that they were no longer just seeking a story to uncover, they were stepping into a dark tale of their own. What would they uncover before the night ended? What horrors lay waiting in the shadows of Evelyn's reality? The shadows writhed around them, heartbeats pounding, a pulsing reminder that danger lurked just beyond the flickering light. Martha and Jen stood paralyzed, the weight of the growl locking their feet into place. Maybe we should?" Jen stammered, inching toward the staircase. But the door had sealed their escape, the stillness of the basement making every breath feel like a betrayal. "Wait!" Martha hissed, eyes darting back to the corner. The red eyes were unblinking, a sinister gleam against the dark backdrop. "What if it's dangerous?" "Of course it's dangerous." Jen shot back, panic etching her features. "We need to get out of here." "But what if we're the ones who disturb it?" Martha's mind raced, piecing together the fragments of their pursuit. Evelyn's secrets unraveling into the cold embrace of the night. What if it's connected to her? With a quick twist of the flashlight, Jen's hand trembled as its flickering beam landed on a rickety old table. Scattered papers and photographs littered the surface, barely distinguishable in the gloom. "Look!" Jen urged, crouching down as if the act would somehow shield her. Could these be Evelyn S.? She reached for the images, her fingers brushing across the surface. "Careful!" Martha warned, holding her breath as a sound like grating metal echoed from the corner where those ominous eyes still loomed. Was it fear or curiosity that drove them closer? It didn't matter, they were tied to this mystery now. One photograph slipped from Jen's grasp and fluttered towards the floor like a wounded bird. They both instinctively hunkered down, hands brushing against the ground in a desperate scramble. "Here, I got it," Jen said, excitement mingling with fear. She held it steady, the beam illuminating Evelyn's face, eyes sparkled like stars, yet shadowed with uncertainty, a chilling mirror of their own. "Isn't this the diner?" Martha gasped, pointing to a faded figure lurking in the background. The unmistakable red figure hovered behind a crowd of diners, watching. Why would Evelyn keep a photo like this? Jen whispered, shaking. What was she afraid of? Just then, a sudden rustling interrupted their conversation. In that moment, the shadows shifted, and a cold wind swept through the basement, sending shivers racing down their spines. "It doesn't want us here," Martha whispered, heart racing, as the heavy air turned electric. Then, another growl rolled through the darkness, deeper and more terrifying, drowning out their thoughts. Instincts flared. It was no longer curiosity that propelled them forward, it was survival. "We need to move," Martha urged, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "If it's trapped down here, too, maybe we can." But before she could finish, the flashlight blinked out again, plunging them into complete darkness. The weight of panic crushed them, everything felt layered, suffocating, as the growl transformed into an anguished wail. "Let us try to find the door," Jen shouted, her voice trembling. Frantic, they reached out, hands meeting frigid walls, desperate for an exit from this nightmare. "Martha!" Jen cried, clutching her friend's arm tightly. "I can't see anything." I know," Martha replied, trying to steady her own shaky breath. "Just trust me." Then, miraculously, the flashlight flickered back on, illuminating a strange symbol on the wall, a circle with runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Jen whispered, drawing closer, her curiosity overcoming fear. Before Martha could answer, something shifted behind them. The air chilled, and the growl deepened, morphing into words that slithered through the darkness. "You'll never leave." With a jolt, they spun around, the flashlight beam slicing through the tension, revealing the corner where those red eyes had been. But now, they were gone. Where did it go? Jen breathed, dread pooling in her stomach. "We need to get out, now." Martha Jen's voice trembled. "Do you think it's suddenly?" They both felt the air twist, a malevolent whisper wrapping around them. "Find me before it's too late." Martha's heart raced as she grabbed Jen's hand. "We have to follow it. We need answers. It's our only chance." In that split second, the night closed around them like a vice, and they understood they were deep within a web they couldn't unravel alone. What truth awaited them down this dark path? And would they survive to tell the tale? The air was thick with dread as Martha and Jen tightened their grip on each other's hands. Each breath felt like a betrayal, and the shadows seemed to breathe with them, lurking behind every movement. Their hearts raced, caught in the tightening grip of fear. "Follow it?" Jen echoed, barely able to mask the tremble in her voice. "Martha, what if it's—" But Martha was already drawing them forward. "We won't know unless we try." Her voice was steadier than she felt, a spark of determination igniting within the depths of her dread. Their flashlight flickered again, the beam finding a path through the tangled darkness, guiding them deeper into the basement. The wall with the pulsing runes glowed faintly, a beacon of eerie light beckoning them closer. Each rune seemed alive, thrumming with energy, whispering secrets they were not yet ready to hear. "Maybe if we touch it," Jen suggested, stepping closer to the symbol, her voice a mix of fear and fascination. No, wait! Martha reached out, but curiosity eclipsed caution. Jen pressed her palm against the runes, and a shockwave of energy flared to life, sending bolts of light spiraling outwards. The room shuddered, as if the very foundation of the house trembled at her touch. "Jen!" Martha screamed, the reverberations intensifying, echoing through their bones. "Let it go!" But Jen felt entranced. Then, in a blink, the light extinguished, swallowed by blinding darkness once more. Martha's heart raced, fear transforming into panic. "We have to get out!" She yelled again, hearing the panic bleed into her words. In that blind, suffocating void, the growl returned, a guttural rumble mingling with agonizing whispers. "You awaken me!" The voice hissed, echoing all around them as if the shadows themselves were speaking. It was a collective wail of loneliness, anger, and despair. "Martha, I can't take this!" Jen cried, her voice breaking. "We can't stay here. Just hold on." Martha shouted, desperately blinking the flashlight, praying it would return. Light flickered again, revealing Jen's pale face, edged with shadows. "It's behind us!" she blurted, and before Martha could turn, an icy wind rushed past them, the very essence of dread itself. "We need to hide," Martha said, yanking Jen toward an old storage closet. They squished inside, the door barely closing behind them. The tight space smelled of mold and dust, heavy like the air outside before a storm. They could hear it now, a low thrum, a growl that resonated deep within the wooden floor beneath them. "What if it gets in here?" Jen whispered, shivering with fear. "Stay quiet," Martha urged, straining to listen. The growl rose, becoming a ragged breath, hungry and relentless, as if searching for them. Seconds stretched into eternity as the shadows twisted outside their hiding place, moving like restless spirits. Martha's pulse was deafening, counting down the moments until they'd be found. When the darkness finally began to recede, they dared to peek out. The noise had stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence that filled the room. "What do we do now?" Jen whispered, shaking slightly. "We look for a way out, and we find Evelyn's truth," Martha replied, steeling herself. But just as she opened the door, something heavy crashed against it from the other side. "Martha!" Jen gasped, stumbling backward as the door rattled violently. "It's coming!" "We have to," but before she could finish, the door burst open, a force like a tidal wave knocking them down as they fell into the dark hall beyond. And from the gloom, those red eyes emerged again, but now they were closer than ever. "Find me before I find you," it hissed, a sinister tease that sent chills racing down their spines. "What do we do?" Jen cried, scrambling to her feet. Martha's mind raced as she surveyed their surroundings. "We run!" she shouted, adrenaline surging as they plunged back into the swirling darkness, desperate to escape. With every heartbeat, the weight of their choices pressed down heavier. As they fled, the air shimmered with foreboding, hinting at secrets buried deeper than they could ever imagine. But time was running short, and somewhere in that darkness lay answers and perhaps even a way out. What would they discover next? More questions, or something that would change everything? The moment Martha and Jen bolted into the pitch black, the world around them faded into a chaotic blur of shadows and fear. The echo of the creature's words lingered in Martha's mind, twisting the very fabric of her thoughts. "Find me before I find you." It felt like a countdown, and each hurried step they took was another fleeting second they couldn't afford to lose. "Where do we go?" Jen gasped, her voice trembling as they zigzagged through the darkness, desperate for direction. Just keep moving," Martha urged, her heart thundering in her chest. The air was thick with fear, every inhalation felt tinged with panic as they stumbled deeper into the maze of shadows. She tried to focus, but the fear clawed at her mind. Up ahead, the faint glimmer of another exit sparkled, but it felt like an illusion. "This way!" She pointed, adrenaline fueling her move towards the light, but as they approached, the pull of the darkness seemed almost magnetic, tugging at their resolve. Behind them, the growl surged once again, primal and sinister, vibrating through the wooden floor, seeping into their bones. Martha dared to glance over her shoulder, and her blood ran cold. Just a few feet back, the red eyes narrowed, glimmering hungrily in the dim light. "Faster!" Martha yelled, pushing Jen ahead of her as they hurtled towards the exit. The growl echoed louder, rage-filled and relentless, a reminder that time was not on their side. They broke through the doorway, and the sight before them nearly took their breath away. Instead of leading outside, the room opened into what looked like a cramped, forgotten library, dusty bookshelves lined with decrepit volumes, their spines cracked and faded. It was as if the house had a heart, and this was its secret chamber. "What the hell is this?" Jen panted, eyes wide. "Focus," Martha snapped back, urgency lacing her words. "We need to find something, anything that will help us." The thundering growl faded momentarily, but a chill swept through the air, hinting at its return. Martha could feel the seconds slipping away, stifling a sense of impending dread. She darted through the rows of books, tracing her fingers over the spines like a blind woman seeking comfort in touch, searching for clues hidden among the pages. "Here!" Jen exclaimed, pointing to a large book that seemed to hum with energy. The cover was embossed with the same runes they had seen before, pulsating gently as if inviting them closer. "Open it," Martha urged, desperation creeping into her voice. As Jen carefully pried it open, an eerie glow filled the dim room, illuminating the dust mote swirling in the air. The pages flipped wildly, settling on illustrations that sent waves of dread washing over them, images of the creature, twisting, morphing, and dark rites that spoke of the horrors bound within the house. "We need to stop this," Jen whispered, eyes wide with fear. "But what does it all mean?" Before Martha could reply, a deafening crash reverberated through the library. The walls seemed to tremble as they turned toward the source. Those same chilling red eyes had returned, now glowing brighter, fueled by their fear. Too late to back out now, Martha thought as she steeled herself. Whatever truth lies in this book, we need to face it. In that moment, the air rippled with tension. This was a truth they hadn't bargained for. They had awoken something ancient, something more terrifying than they could have imagined. Martha took a step closer to the glowing pages, knowing that the time for running was over. Just then, the growl morphed into a guttural laugh, echoing in the shadows. "You think you can decipher the darkness? Or will you become part of it?" Martha felt a shiver run down her spine. "We have to decode this," she rasped, determination igniting in her chest. But as she began to read, the walls began to close in, secrets entwined with fate. Were they the ones to uncover the truth, or would they become another layer of this house's twisted history? The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, and just as the first truth began to reveal itself, the ground trembled violently beneath them. "What now?" Jen exclaimed, gripping Martha's arm tightly. "It's not just a story," Martha gasped, fear worming its way back to the surface. "It's a warning." Overhead, a shadow stretched larger as if to consume them. And then, just as the room shifted, the book emitted a blinding light, sweeping Martha and Jen into an unknown spiral of destiny. The truth was about to be unleashed. The question was, at what cost? The blinding light swallowed them whole, wrapping around their bodies like tendrils eager to pull them deeper into the abyss. Martha's heart raced as she felt the floor vanish beneath her feet, the walls of the library dissolving into chaos. Color swirled and shapes distorted, blending into a dizzying vortex of sound, a cacophony of whispers, screams, and laughter intertwined with an overwhelming sense of dread. "Martha!" Jen's voice broke through the madness, cracking like a fragile glass. "What is happening?" Before she could respond, they collided hard against something solid. It knocked the breath from her lungs and sent pain shooting through her ribs. Gasping, Martha blinked against the dim light. They were in a new space, a cold chamber, dimly lit by flickering torches that hinted at its age. The air was stale, and the scent of damp stone filled her senses. Where are we?" Jen managed, her voice shaky but loud enough to pierce through the heavy silence. Martha looked around. The walls were lined with grotesque carvings, figures in the midst of rituals, faces twisted in agony, as if frozen in time. A shiver ran down her spine. "I don't know, but I don't like this." Suddenly, a low growl rumbled again, echoing through their refuge. It was closer now, filling the room like smoke. The red eye shone brightly in the distance, pinpricks of malevolence growing larger and more threatening. "Martha, we need to find a way out." Jen was nearly crying, her voice thick with fear. A great wooden door dominated one wall, its surface marred by deep scratches and half-erased symbols Martha recognized from the book. "That door. Maybe it leads back," she shouted, urgency propelling her forward. As they approached, the growl morphed back into a mocking laugh, reverberating off the stone and shaking Martha to her core. "Flee if you wish, but your fate is sealed." You are not here simply to leave. An unnerving chill wrapped around her, clawing at the edges of her resolve. She reached for the door handle, but it burned hot against her palm, as if resisting her touch. "It's not locked," she gasped, instinct telling her to pull away, but curiosity held her there. "We can't." "Did you hear that?" Jen interrupted, her eyes widening in terror. "Footsteps. We're not alone." Before Martha could respond, shadows shifted behind them, looming over their shoulders. The air crackled with energy, and something brushed past them cold and unfathomable. She could feel it, breathing, lurking. "Open the door!" Jen yelled, nearly frantic. "Now! I can't stay here!" With an enormous effort, Martha turned the handle. The door swung open with a creak, revealing a desolate corridor dimly lit with the same flickering torches. But before they could step through, the growl erupted into a deafening roar, shaking the very stones of the chamber. "Are you so eager to see what lies beyond?" The voice echoed, twisting around them like a serpent. "You know nothing of the horrors you've awakened." A gust of icy wind rushed past, nearly knocking them off their feet. This new corridor was flooded with a heavy, unsettling energy. Shadows whispered secrets, and the grip of dread closed around their throats. "Let us go," Martha urged, pulling Jen with her into the passage, fear giving them speed. They raced down the corridor, but the growl persisted, growing louder with every step, wrapping them in a blanket of terror. As they sprinted deeper, the ground beneath felt alive, thrumming with a heartbeat. Behind them, the laughter faded, replaced by urgent whispers that clawed at their sanity. They were running blind, but there was no choice. "What do we do if it catches us?" Jen panted, panic creeping into her voice. "I don't know," Martha shouted, desperation coursing through her. But with each pounding footstep, she could feel the darkness chasing them, twisting the very air they breathed. They had to uncover the truth of the house before it was too late, and then, amid the chaos, a thought struck Martha, a truth she hadn't considered before. "What if it's not just survival we need?" she murmured, a chilling realization dawning on her. "What do you mean?" Jen slowed, confusion painted across her face. Before Martha could respond, the corridor seemed to tense around them, the very stones vibrating to the touch of a horror awakening. The darkness had a mind of its own, and it was hungry. Just as the shadows lurched forward, converging like a wave, a new voice boomed from somewhere unseen, commanding and ancient. "If you seek the truth, you must make a choice." Martha's heart raced with anticipation and dread. What kind of choice? What truth lay before them, and at what cost? The chase was only just beginning, but deep down, she knew one thing: they were in a game much larger than themselves, and now the stakes had risen higher than ever before. The corridor swallowed them as they stumbled deeper into the shadows, every heartbeat a drum signaling their impending doom. It felt as if the walls were closing in, breathing heavy, alive with a darkness that pulsed like a warning. "Did you hear that?" Jen whispered, her voice barely a breath as they pressed on. Martha shook her head, but the growls, loud, vicious, and hungry, were unmistakable. A flicker of movement caught her eye from the corner of her vision, and she turned, catching just a glimpse of something dark and bitter like an omen, darting away as quickly as it appeared. "Focus!" she urged, pushing through the fraying threads of her own panic. "We have to keep moving." They sprinted forward, the torches flickering madly as if a storm was swirling around them. The air thickened, each step feeling like wading through syrup. Tension coiled tightly around her chest, quickening her breaths until they were sharp, rasping gasps. "What choice?" Jen pressed, her question echoing the confusion hanging heavily in the air. "What truth?" Martha didn't have a clue, but whatever it was felt like a noose tightening around them. With every step, the temperature dropped, chills gnawing at their skin. "Maybe we need to confront whatever it is," Martha said, her mind racing. "Our only way out is through." That statement, though brave, hung like a dark shadow between them. They could feel the answer navigated within the gloom, lurking maliciously, waiting for a moment of weakness to pounce. "Please, don't say things like that," Jen pleaded, eyes wide, brimming with tears. "I'm just trying to think," Martha snapped, frustrated. Panic was a liar that twisted thoughts, turning courage into fear at lightning speed. Something brushed against her again, a fleeting coldness that sent tremors through her body, flooding her with dread. "Run!" Martha yelled, propelling them further down the corridor. A trembling hand shot out, finding purchase on the cold stone walls. They pushed forward, feet pounding against the ground, racing away from the malevolence that surged behind them. Suddenly, a strange glow spilled into the passage ahead of them. It beckoned, like a candle offering warmth amidst the freezing night. "Is it safe?" Jen asked, uncertainty tinged with desperate hope. Martha hesitated. "We need to find out." As they neared the light, a chilling wind howled down the corridor, extinguishing the torches surrounding them. It swallowed their source of safety, and darkness crept up, cold and suffocating. "No!" Martha gasped, heart racing, as shadows thrashed around them, filling in the void left by the flickering flames. The light burst back to life just steps away, a swath of pure brilliance. It flickered and danced, drawing them in, but it also shone brightly against the putrid mass of darkness closing in, a stark reminder of their dire situation. "Do we jump in?" Jen asked, her voice trembling. "Maybe it's a chance," Martha breathed, glancing back only to see the red eyes approaching swiftly, teeth bared in a ghastly grin. Just as they reached toward the light, a roar erupted, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The decision loomed large before them. Could they close their eyes and leap into the unknown? But behind them, the voice roared again, now familiar, unbearable. "Choose, foolish girls, before time runs out." Martha's breath hitched. Every fiber of her being screamed to run, yet adrenaline surged through her veins, igniting resolve. "Together," she whispered, squeezing Jen's hand tight. But just before they jumped, the earth shook violently, a fierce crack splitting the floor. In that very moment, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the corridor, a sound that felt like it was from somewhere or someone they knew all too well. "Jen!" Martha screamed, as the ground heaved beneath them. And as the darkness surged toward them, Martha realized in that split second the choice, the truth, and their very survival teetered on the brink of collapse. Would they take the leap into the blinding light, or succumb to the shadows, faces twisted in despair? The chamber began to crack, and the stench of despair hung thick around them as they fell into the uncertainty. And next would come the awakening of truths better left buried. The ground fell away, and for a split second, they were weightless, suspended between choice and consequence. The scream echoed, a haunting reminder of what they risked leaving behind. As the darkness clawed at their heels, Martha's grip on Jen tightened, their fingers interlocked like the last strands of hope. The moment they plunged into the light, a fierce warmth enveloped them. It was like breaking through the surface of water after being submerged too long. Colors exploded around them, vivid, dazzling, almost surreal. But there was no time to take it in. The corridor screams morphed into a deafening silence, pressing in on them. Martha opened her eyes, disoriented. They stood in a chamber unlike anything they had encountered. The walls glimmered with strange symbols, pulsing in time with their heartbeats. Each beat felt like an echo alive, resonating with power and dread. "Where are we?" Jen's breath came out shaky, the comfort of the light now tinged with uncertainty. "I don't know," Martha replied, her voice trembling as she scanned the room. "But look!" A massive pedestal rose from the ground at the far end, bathed in the glowing light. On it rested an ancient-looking book, its cover dark and leathery, etched with the same symbols that adorned the walls. "Maybe it can help us," Jen suggested, taking a hesitant step forward. Martha followed, but as they approached, a cold draft swept through the chamber, sending chills racing down their spines. The very air was thick with tension, almost as if the room itself held its breath. A flicker of movement drew their eyes to the shadows. Forms twisted and morphed against the walls, echoing the monstrous growls they had heard before. Panic clawed at Martha's insides. "We can't stay here," she hissed, turning her gaze back to the book. "We need to figure out what's happening." As Jen reached for the book, something erupted from the shadows. A creature, grotesque and hulking, with glistening eyes and jagged teeth, lunged at them. Martha's instincts kicked in, and she shoved Jen back, sending them both tumbling to the ground. "Run!" Martha shouted, scrambling to her feet, fear twisting her stomach. Jen was frozen, staring wide-eyed at the approaching horror. "Get the book!" Martha yelled. "It might be our only chance." With a newfound determination, Jen lunged for the pedestal while Martha darted to the side, desperately trying to divert the creature's attention. The instant Jen lifted the book, a surge of energy rippled through the room, illuminating everything in a blinding glow. The shadows recoiled, shrieks of rage filling the air. It was a sound that felt almost alive, charged with ancient power. "What did you do?" Martha yelled as the creature stumbled back, thrashed, and then vanished into a wisp of black smoke. "I think it's connected to the darkness," Jen panted, clutching the book to her chest. Her eyes darted around the chamber, bewildered. Martha felt a strange pull toward her friend and the glowing tome. "What do we do with it?" "Let us find out," Jen said with fierce resolve as she flipped the brittle pages, her fingers quivering with anticipation. Each page seemed to hum with energy, revealing riddles, truths, and destiny's words that felt familiar yet alien. As they read, the tension snapped and a faint whisper echoed in the air, pregnant with foreboding. "Beware," it warned. "The price of knowledge is steep." Martha's heart raced. With those words, the ground beneath them trembled again, and the walls began to warp. They were at the center of a whirlwind, chaos threatening to consume them once more. "What have we done?" Martha wondered aloud, fear creeping in as the darkness began to bend and twist, threatening to reclaim what they had just uncovered. And as shadows crawled back from the corners, a revelation struck her. The real danger was only just beginning. "Quick, Jen! We need to decide what to do with this knowledge before it's too late." Haunted by the whispers of a truth that was never theirs to bear, Martha realized that walking away was no longer an option. They had awakened something they couldn't control. Would they conquer the darkness, or would they be consumed by it? As the chamber erupted in chaos, the true test of their courage was about to begin. Martha and Jen stood together, the book pulsing with power between them, light and weight clashing in their hands as the shadows writhed like wounded serpents. Fear rippled through the air, a reminder that they had stumbled upon forces far beyond their understanding. The whispering darkness felt alive, clawing at their instincts, and they knew they had to act fast. "What do we do?" Jen's voice trembled, eyes wide with panic. The chamber crackled with tension, the very walls straining against the reality they had unearthed. "I can't believe we're here. What if we can't get out?" "We have to figure out what this book really means," Martha urged, her fingers curling around the ancient cover. "Whatever truths lie in here could either save us or doom us." The realization washed over her, heavy and suffocating. They had pressed their way into something significant, intertwined with the fate of a long-lost soul. The shadows continued to swirl, their depths filled with hissing whispers that echoed like a taunt. "Do not fear the knowledge, fear what you risk to earn it." The voice rumbled through the room, sending shivers racing down Martha's spine. "Quick! Flip through it, see what else we can find," Martha urged, adrenaline coursing through her. Jen nodded vigorously, flipping past pages filled with illustrations that depicted dark rituals, a history woven with both malevolence and desperation. The more they uncovered, the more it felt like a trap slowly closing around them. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a page that sent a jolt of recognition through them, the symbol they had seen before, the one engraved on the walls of the chamber. "This is it!" Jen exclaimed, her finger trembling as it traced the mark. "It says this symbol binds the power of the shadows. We need to find a way to use it against that creature." Martha's heart raced with renewed determination. "We can bind this darkness and end it." In that moment, the room began to shimmer, a renewed glow surging around them as the shadows recoiled, displeased. "You dare?" Their voice swirled like a storm, but beneath the threatening ire lay a hint of fear. Martha took a deep breath. "Yes, we dare. We will use your power against you." With her heart pounding in her chest, she imagined the symbol glowing brightly, channeling an energy that could seal away the evil they had awakened. "Together," she said, looking into Jen's eyes, a silent agreement passing between them. Shadows trembled beneath their feet as they began reciting a binding phrase they found etched in the book, their voices uniting in defiance against the darkness. As they spoke those ancient words, the air crackled with energy, lightning dancing between them as the chamber lit up. The presence of the creature grew more frantic, snarling in fury as the glow enveloped them, pulsing in rhythm with the hearts that dared to challenge it. "Find me before I find you," echoed its haunting voice, but now it felt less like a promise and more like a desperation. The shadows swirled faster, threatening to swallow everything, but with every syllable they spoke, the bond grew stronger. "We will not yield," Martha shouted. "Your reign is over." With a final surge, Jen flipped to the last page of the book, a final incantation glimmering up at them. They both shouted it as one, their voices weaving through the air like a spell stronger than fear itself. "By light and truth, I bind you to the night, never to return." In an explosion of brilliant light, a shockwave washed through the chamber. The dark figure roared in rage and confusion, the sound blending with the force of their declaration. And then quiet, the pulsating shadows decreased, and as they stumbled back, they felt the weight lifting from the room. A soft, warm light enveloped them, wrapping tenderly around their bodies, a bright promise of safety. "Did we do it?" Jen gasped, looking up at Martha, her hope slowly blooming. The shadows that had once pressed heavily around them began to fade, revealing the chamber's true form, an ancient library filled with light, the runes on the walls now glowing like stars against the darkness. "We did," Martha replied, tears of relief rolling down her cheeks. "We broke its hold." As they turned to leave, they paused, a lingering sense of accomplishment mixed with a bittersweet recognition of the journey. Evelyn's soul lay finally at peace, the weight of her worries lifted from Maplewood. The air felt lighter, and as they stepped towards the exit, Martha looked back at the chamber. "We faced it together," she murmured. "We made a choice." "Yeah," Jen smiled, a mixture of awe and a shared bond unbroken. They clasped hands, stepping forward into the light, and as they emerged from the millhouse, the stars above twinkled brilliantly, illuminating a new beginning. They took one last glance at the shadowy structure behind them, now just a memory of fear and strength united. As dawn broke over Maplewood, their hearts began to heal, and as they walked home, vibrant possibilities danced between them. Together, they transformed the tale of fear into one of strength, a story worth telling, one that would never allow darkness to soar unchecked. They would never forget the night they went into the shadows and returned as more than just friends, they returned as warriors of light. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support this channel. This is the moment. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.